Everyone has their own unique views and needs when it comes to financial success. If you'd like to leave your financial woes behind and live a life of financial freedom, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Saving with Steve show, hosted by Steve Sexton. The show will help you with the ins and outs of money. We talk about financial issues that could be costing you thousands of dollars and keeping you up at night. We talk about money, tax reduction, saving more, spending less, 401ks, risk management, retirement, and everything under the sun that relates to you having a healthier, happy relationship with money. Now, here is your host of Saving with Steve, Steve Sexton, on UK Health Radio.
Hello, welcome to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money, pretty much everything under the sun that relates to you having a happier, healthy relationship with money. My name is Steve Sexton. I want to thank you for joining us. You know what? We're up to 101 episodes. That's a big deal when it comes to podcasts, because most of them are usually over by then. Now, so we're in order to make that happen, we're thankful for everybody behind the scenes, camera, just the editing. We've got Jessica's team who helps with the PR. We've got Emily who helps with distribution. So we're very, very thankful. We've got a lot of wonderful facilitators or syndicators, such as AM, FM 247, BBS Radio, and UK Health Radio. Our show is actually seen worldwide now in over 56 countries. We have over 600,000 people who watch our show and listen to our show every single time. And we have well over 100,000 listeners overseas. And we're just thankful for all that. Today, you know, I just want to talk about our last episode. We had Hope and Larry Ware. They're frugal living experts. They just walked us through 7 tips that you keep in mind when it comes to holiday savings. You know what? When you're dealing with all this inflation and increased costs and everything, it's good to know how to have a great time inexpensively. Hope and Larry Ware did just that. So if you want to go take a look at the episode, you can go to savingwithsteve.us. That's savingwithsteve.us and look for episode 100. Since there's over 100 episodes, you're going to see how you can travel for the world for 10 cents on the dollar. Now, today, I'll be talking about how to keep your debt in check. This is something that you're going to want to know about. Next, we have Krista Lockwood. She's a mom of 5 who teaches other moms how to declutter without being a full-blown minimalist. She has a Facebook page called Motherhood Simplified, the ultimate guide for mom's life. Her website, Motherhood Simplified, has tips after tips for moms. You can listen to her on her podcast with over 50,000 moms that follow. She's one heck of a woman. We're lucky to have her here today. So you know what? Now I'd like to welcome Krista Lockwood. She's here in the flesh, and we want to thank her for being with us and sharing all this information. So Krista, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Steve.
I was just commenting to you before, how great you look, mom of 5. My mom was, I'm one of 5. So I knew my mom didn't sleep too much when I was younger. Didn't realize that until I was in high school, but
Thank you. And that's one of the reasons I teach moms how to declutter, is so that they can do this. They can have rest, they can have ease, they can have simplicity, because motherhood doesn't have to be more exhausting than it needs to be.
Well, motherhood in itself is exhausting. I totally get that. I would just love to understand how you got started in the Motherhood Simplified movement, so to speak. What got you going with all that?
My husband and I were born and raised in Alaska, and he's always been an entrepreneur. So have I. And he does insurance, so he's in that type of industry. And we were in Alaska. His business was doing well. And we got to a point where he was like, I don't think there's really anything else we can do in Alaska. Like, what if we left? And so in 2013, we moved from Alaska to Florida in pursuit of opportunity. And we were a broke family. We had 3 kids at the time. And because it was so expensive to ship stuff from Alaska to Florida, we just decided to rent a house that was furnished and get rid of everything other than what fit into our suitcases. And so I accidentally discovered how powerful it was to live in a house that had less stuff in my motherhood, because I went from living a pretty normal mom life, which you might remember growing up, like how your mom experienced, where there's just never ending toy messes, like laundry, dishes, always something to do in the house. And it's exhausting, and it eats up all of your time and all of your energy. And so we got to Florida. Life got really easy. I thought it was because we moved, but I've been able to see in hindsight that the reason it got easy is because I got rid of all of that excess stuff in my house that was making me slowly go crazy, right? Like I felt like my family never helped me clean up. I felt like I was a glorified roommate, just trying to manage pointless messes in my house. And that changed when we got to Florida. And it wasn't actually until like 2017 when I got pregnant with our 4th baby, and was a part of a due date group of other moms due at the same time. And they all were talking about how overwhelmed they were with motherhood and their home specifically, like the day-to-day messes, trying to get organized, trying to implement chore charts and systems that they just couldn't sustain. And I wasn't struggling with that anymore. And just watching their conversations, and we did this thing called house tours where we would go live and show each other inside of our houses. So I was able to also watch that and kind of piece together like what had changed for me. And it was when we got rid of that stuff. Yes, we have more stuff now than just a suitcase full of things, but it wasn't as much as I used to have. And so I just asked them, I feel like I know your problem. It's that you have too much stuff in your house. Like nobody could possibly ever manage that or keep up on it or keep it organized, or there's no chore chart that could ever keep up on that amount of work. Do you want me to show you a better way? And they were like, yes, please. Oh my gosh. And so I kind of learned my process in hindsight and learned how I could help them have less stuff, not nothing, right? Don't go down to a suitcase of stuff. I don't recommend that. It's just what I happen to do, and give them relief in their homes. And it's been a really beautiful thing because now they have more time to spend with their families. They have more time to do things like actually budget and manage their money. That was a big thing for me that changed, was how I spent and related to my money, just focusing on their health and their relationships and slowing down and actually enjoying their life. So that's the story.
That's a great story. I'll just say this. One of the things I did before getting into my business is I developed businesses overseas. And I would go for anywhere from 3 to 8 months into any one country and develop it and all that stuff. But I lived with a bag of golf clubs and 2 suitcases. And every time I got to the hotel, it was like, okay, this goes to the dry cleaners and, this is my stuff for the week. And it was real simple and easy, although it doesn't work when you have a wife. And I didn't have a wife then. I'm thinking that the minimalist side of the things compared to the way I live right now is like, gosh, that's so much easier. So you have a statement here, and I read it off the website. It says, how clutter and consumerism is a drain on somebody's finances. So help us understand that and how we can declutter our homes and all that kind of stuff.
So yes, consumerism it's very expensive and it's very tricky. I just did a reel on Instagram about this, actually, how moms go to Target, and there's this meme that floats around that we all joke about, that when you go into Target, Target tells you what you need. And that makes me so it makes me so sad for families, because it's true. It's true that we're surrounded by expert marketers, especially as moms. We are constantly sold to, we are constantly told our kids need this, right? Our kids need this for their development, for their education, for their happiness. And, good parents, air quote, good parents give their kids these kinds of things. And so there's this pressure on us to get more, to buy more. And then this worry that if we don't do that, our kids are going to be deprived or they're going to be disadvantaged. And it's not true. I'm actually a Montessori teacher by trade. And so a lot of that foundation in Montessori education is in having a simplified environment so that you can make sound decisions, so that you can go deep into your work and your play. And as adults, that looks like building a life, building a family, raising children. But it's expensive. Because we are buying all of these things that we don't need, and it's overstimulating, and that reduces our ability to make sound decisions. A lot of the decisions that we make financially are short term, and they feel harmless because it's like, it's just a $20 toy here, $20 toy there, that adds up. And we don't realize that we could be saving $20 here or there, investing $20 there, and having it move us on an upward trajectory instead of either staying flat or even declining.
Actually, I was just thinking of my son who recently finished college and started a new job, and he actually moved out, and he had a closet full of stuff that he hasn't used, number one, in years. Number two, there was probably I'm embarrassed to say this, there's probably 6 or 7 things that my wife purchased for him, and they still have the tags on it from years ago. And I'm like, yeah. And then there's a bunch of stuff that he purchased himself because he thought he used it in electronics or something, and he never actually used it. So I could see how that is occurring, because a lot of it has to do with my wife going, I think he really needs it. And by the way, it's on discount, so I'm going to get it. And the next thing you know, it just sits there. And is that somewhat what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. For families, especially with kids, buying things that look like a good deal. But if we don't need it, right, it's not really a good deal. And when it comes to clutter and an excessive amount of stuff in our homes, a lot of times we buy things because we forget what we have, or we lose it, or for some things, it doesn't get stored adequately. And so it gets ruined, or, specifically with like kids' clothes, especially for families, we buy clothes that are on sale in the next size up or the next season up, thinking that it's going to save us money. But then then we forget that we have it, or we don't pull it out in time and they've outgrown it before they ever got a chance to wear it. And it's ultimately not saving us money. And it comes down to, I think, just having too much to manage, right? We're trying to manage too much. And then we're also constantly being sold to, right? It looks like a good deal, but we don't need most of it. We can't manage it. We can't remember what we have. It's a big drain on our money. I remember when we left Alaska, because I had to get rid of everything that was in our house, looking at the piles of stuff that we had and just basically seeing piles of dollar bills of like, wow, like no wonder I haven't paid more off on my student loans, because I would go to the thrift store and find my kids some really cute toys that were super cheap, but they ultimately never played with, or it didn't really make a big difference to us. So yeah, it's very draining and it's sneaky, and you don't really notice it until I think you start, like your son moves out and you're like, oh wow, all this stuff that we bought and never used, and you see it differently.
Bet you anybody can walk into their own closet and say, I wore that once, or, I got that and I got it dry cleaned or washed it or whatever so I can wear it, but never wore it. And I think everybody can do that, because I can just think of what you're saying going, yeah, you know what, that could have saved me a bunch of money. And I think the analogy that you're saying, hey, I could have paid some bills off, paid off my loan, paid down my credit cards. I think sometimes depending on the purchase, if people just go, hey, do I really, really need this? Or even wait a day to make that decision. And if you go back and, hey, I really, really need it. Okay, fine. But there's a lot of times where you just say, hey, it's out of sight, out of mind. So I don't really need it. And that money could stay in your wallet, or it could pay down that credit card.
Yeah. And that's a really valuable skill. I remember my dad, I was probably like 17 or 18, and I was buying my first cell phone, and he went with me, and they were giving me all kinds of upgrades to get really nice phones. And his advice to me was to go home and think about whether I wanted to get all of the accessories. And of course, I'm like 17 or 18 making impulsive decisions. And it was like, no, I know I want this. Right. And in hindsight, I'm like, that was a really good skill that he was trying to teach me. And now I understand it, but it's really true in our society because of the way consumerism kind of dominates everything. It's normal for us to not take time to think about these decisions. And it's normal for us to say, well, I earned it, or it's a splurge for me, or, I worked hard for this. And yeah, you did. It's just, and I do think that, we shouldn't deprive ourselves. We should celebrate ourselves and get the things that we want. It's just a matter of making sure that we're doing it within our actual financial means, making decisions from an empowered place rather than a marketer's got you in their grip place.
So let's talk about that in a moment. We're going to have to take a quick break. So stick with us. We're going to be back with more Krista, Lockwood, and some Saving with Steve. So we'll be right back. Stick with us.
More expert advice for having a happier relationship with money still to come on the Saving with Steve show on UK Health Radio.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Welcome back to the show that is here to help you achieve your financial goals. It's the Saving with Steve show. Now here's your host, Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money. Pretty much everything in the sun relates to you having a happier, healthier day with money. Hey, if you would like to go check us out on Facebook, you can go to Saving with Steve Sexton, behind the scenes stuff, guest gifts, the whole shot. By the way, check out a few of our affiliates at UK Health Radio, AM/FM 247, and BBS Radio. They're all here to help you uplift your spirits and live a life of financial, personal freedom. And again, I want to welcome back Krista Lockwood. You really want to go check out her website at Motherhood Simplified. Go to her Facebook page at Motherhood Simplified, the ultimate guide for mom's life. When you go to the website, you're going to see tip after tip after tip for moms. It's something special, because I was sharing it with my wife. She goes, God, I wish I knew some of that stuff when I was younger. One of the things I can relate to you is when you start talking about when people go shopping and the lesson that you learned from your dad to think about it. One of the big things that people don't realize with marketing, because an actual strategy is a sense of urgency.
Yes.
They're going to put a timer up there. They're going to say it's only good till Thursday. You look at the travel stuff and they said, 4 people are buying in the seat right now. And you're like, oh my God, I got to get it. In the reality, it's all marketing designed to get you to move forward with something before you actually want to. My son's an engineer and he researches the heck out of everything. And you talked about a cell phone. And before he bought the cell phone, he figured out the one that would actually work out best for him from a utility standpoint, like means what he needs to actually get done. And then he looked at this. The way they said it, they said, hey, you know what? You can pay so much over this period of time. And he figured it would save him $100 if he just paid cash up front for it. Instead of having a $50 or $30 a month bill for 2 years and pay almost double for the phone, he paid a lot less. You know, you look into those things. Sometimes the convenience isn't the best thing because you're giving up too much money.
Yeah. And yeah, on that same thing, they probably get you with the urgency too. Like the deal is only good now. And if you don't have, you know, if you're making an impulsive decision, you're less likely to make that better decision because it takes time. Sometimes it takes time to save up the money to afford it in the best way possible. I think, again, we also live in a time where that's not really encouraged. I've been in the online space for a little bit, and sometimes the marketing and the urgency is, I feel it's borderline predatory because they're like, well, just get PayPal credit, right? Or just use Afterpay, you know, to get these things that you ultimately can't afford. You likely don't need, but they're making it so easy for you to make an impulsive decision that sounds good in the moment on things that, you know, are going to probably end up clutter in your home that is going to continue to overwhelm you, continue to diminish your ability to make decisions, to feel in control of not just your finances, but your life in general, right? The way you spend your time, how you spend your days. So yeah, I got a lot of opinions about that.
I just want to add something here. I always look at marketing and how that fits in and everything. All the strategies that marketers use, they will use a gift voucher, a gift card. They will use all that instead of giving you a discount. Reason why you're still getting the same 20% off, but now you feel good because you're getting a gift card and you feel like it's worth more because you're getting a gift card. And they actually end up charging more to offset for the gift card. And then they'll give you bonus gifts and incentives to do this. So you buy makeup and you get this other thing. And whatever that other thing is, it might have a perceived value, but you might or might not ever use it. And then they try to do what's called risk-free. You know what that is? That's where they give you that guarantee. And statistically speaking, only 2% of people ever return it for the guarantee. So that means most people, they might like it, they might not like it. If they don't like it, they don't go after the guarantee and get their money back because they don't want to waste the time. I've actually heard one of my wife's friends say, hey, you know what? They're going to ship me the shoes and it's the shipping's free. That's worth a lot of money in itself. So they went and got it. And then when you talk about the terms, it's really about making it easy for somebody to get something. And you see it nowadays where they say, hey, you can buy this item and Amazon will finance everybody for $4 a month for a $30 item or whatever it might be. So, but when you do that, you got to remember you're paying more and it's a little bit that's eating away. So help us a little bit how our listeners can help declutter their lives. Moms getting their brains back because they don't have to work too hard on the house with the kids or other things. And basically we're finding out by decluttering, you can save a heck of a lot of money, which is a great benefit.
Yeah. So I recommend starting somewhere small or simple to just so that you don't get overwhelmed with the decision-making process, because ultimately it is, you know, deciding what to keep and not keep. But if you can start somewhere small and still impactful, like a spice cabinet, that's a really great place to start because you're in the kitchen every day. Spices, there's not a lot of sentimentality or emotions attached to that for most people. I've come across some people who do. That's
salt.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I say salt or sugar?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yes. But what you do too, or the opportunity when you're doing something simple like that, is to see like, oh, wow, I have 3 cinnamons opened, not used. Like, you know, you can start to see like, that's a lot of stuff that I was buying without remembering that I had it, or buying and thought I needed more because it was buried under other stuff. And you can kind of start to see where your money is being drained because you've got so much stuff. You just can't see or remember what you have. So spice cabinet is a really easy place to start, or, you know, under your sink, either kitchen sink or bathroom sink, the same kinds of things will happen there where there's not a lot of emotion attached to it. They're pretty easy decisions, but you can also see like, wow, I've purchased 7 or 8 different kinds of cleaners and I only use 2. I can stop, you know, experimenting with cleaners, just buy the one I know we use and save some money that way. Or, you know, like a laundry cabinet space. Also pretty true there. Like there's usually a lot of trash. It's easy to clean out. And also just a really simple way to identify holes in your spending, right? That you can kind of close up. Like, I don't need to buy any more air fresheners. Like we've got a lot, we never use them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you build momentum and you can start moving into bigger areas of your house, like your dishes, your Tupperware, your clothes, which generally are bigger projects. But if you can start small, it feels less overwhelming to take those on.
You know what? The other thing I was just thinking about is I've been on local news here in San Diego a whole bunch of times talking about how to reduce your budget in order to pay off debt and things like that. And one of the biggest things that I was just thinking about decluttering is all the just different streaming platforms. They get cable, so they're paying $250 a month for cable. And then they got the streaming package from Hulu, Netflix, all sorts of them. And they've got another $100 in cost or more on a monthly basis. And they don't use all the channels for cable. I've actually talked to or coached a few people where they went from paying $250 down to about $110 just for the internet service, and then got I think it was AT&T Live, and then 2 streaming channels. And it turns out it's the one they watch. They got kids, so they got the Disney one, the Disney Plus, and then they got Netflix. And those are the only 2 they use. And they're saving over $150 a month. It made it so much easier. And the kids don't fight. They either go to Disney or to Netflix.
That's such a good example. And I was just thinking about that the other day because they also make it with the smart TVs now, which I'm not very tech savvy, but my kids wanted to watch The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And the only place I can watch it is on Apple TV. And I was like, I have to sign up for Apple TV. It's like another $5 a month. So I just got the week-long free thing so we could watch it one time and then turn it off. But I'm like, it's so different from how TV used to be, where you don't have to, but it's very easy to pay for all of these different services just so that you can watch certain things. And yeah, that's a great, so similar to what we do in our houses, all the things that we buy just kind of automatically that we don't really need.
Well, the goal here is to make it easy so people can do it mindlessly, and they can always throw it on a debit card or credit card. And a lot of times people don't realize how much those balances build up, or they never really, I've talked to a few people and they're like, well, I always make the payment a little bit more, but I never seem to be able to pay it off. And it's because all those things that are automatically charged. They got meal delivery services nowadays. They've got memberships. I had one person that had Jazzercise. They had Peloton. They had 3 or 4 of these things. And you know what? And they all got them. Well, she got them right after the first of the year and used them a couple of times and never in again. And on top of that, she had a fitness membership. So it was oh, geez, you don't need all of those. It's so easy. It's the way marketing is. They're trying to make it work. So what other things can people do to help declutter and save some money and make life easier?
The biggest thing I think would be, in addition to actually getting things out of your house, because one thing that people fall into accidentally doing is shifting it from place to place in their house. They shift it into a closet. They get organizers. They get bins. Actually get it out of your house for good. You can do just a really simple way. Just go room by room. You can go room by room. You can go by category. You can start at the top of your house and move all the way down to the bottom or left to right, whatever you want to do. Just kind of systematically go through and get rid of things, trash them, donate them, sell them, whatever you got to do. But then on the other end, you've got to slow down the incoming flow. So that's one of the things that I like to talk about a lot is when you go grocery shopping, go with a plan, right? If you're going to Target to get diapers or wipes, don't get sidetracked by the fall decor that you don't need, right? Don't get sidetracked by the toys. Learn how to have conversations with your kids, because I know my dad, I don't know if he had conversations with me about money and decision making before I went to go get my cell phone, but that's the only one I really remember. But even my kids who are 3 and 5, when we're walking through the store and they're like, I want that. I'll tell them, not today. We're going to spend our money on something else. We're here to buy food today. We're here to buy cat food. You sound like that. We're here to buy cat food today. That's what we're spending our money on. We're not going to spend our money on these toys today. And depending on their ages and development, I'll tell them if we bought this toy today, how long would you actually play with it? Because I've seen you have these kinds of toys before and we get them and then they get forgotten. So is this a toy that you're excited about because you can see it here and now? Or is it a toy that you were really excited about and would love to have down the road? Because if it's something you're really excited about, we'll put it on a list and think about it for your birthday or Christmas or whatever. So yeah, just getting things actually out of your house is step one. Well, you can do it simultaneously, and then slowing the incoming flow is the other side of it.
That's a great tip, slowing the incoming flow and learning how to talk to your kids so they can look and touch, but not buy, makes a big difference. Hey, you know what? I'd love to know, because I know you have lessons and courses that moms could take. Could you tell us how that works, Krista?
Yeah. So I have a free guide that are the basics of decluttering, how to create a decluttering plan, how to to avoid common decluttering mistakes like the clutter shifting, how to work through the mental block that a lot of people have, like, well, what if I need it, right? What if I need it? Or what if I get rid of it and I don't have it anymore? So how to work through that. And then I've got another course to help you work through your entire home. Kind of like I said, just go through your entire home systematically. That can feel really overwhelming for people, especially moms when they're managing daily messes, other humans, with big emotions and all of that. So it's a step-by-step plan and a lot of little strategies in there that you can actually do to get rid of this stuff. And then I have a toy course because it's smaller and simpler, more focused, since toys are a big deal for parents. And then a clothes course because that tends to be the other big overwhelming projects for parents are clothes. So a few different options based on your needs and what you want to focus on, but they're all self-paced. They have a community attached to it so that you can get accountability and feedback from me. You can share your progress. You can be like, hey, I'm stuck here. Can somebody help me make this decision? Or can somebody, it's funny too, because we'll get people who are out like shopping or whatever. And they're like, can somebody please tell me not to get this? I don't need this. And we're like, I don't get it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's community attached to it, plus the simple steps to follow in all.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Hey, Krista, I want to thank you for joining us today and sharing your knowledge. Our viewers, which are 86% females, and I know they're going to be sharing it with their friends and their daughters who are going through it. Again, I just appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Look, you stay safe, stay healthy, and maybe we'll have you back again.
I would love that. Thank you.
All righty. We're going to be back for more of Saving with Steve. So we'll be right back. Stick with us.
More expert advice for having a happier relationship with money still to come on the Saving with Steve show on UK Health Radio.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Welcome back to the show that is here to help you achieve your financial goals. It's the Saving with Steve show. Now here's your host, Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show. Tonight, you know what? I just want to spend a few minutes, and it's just how to keep your debt in check. So there's a couple things that we want to do, especially now that we've got significant inflation, costs are up, borrowing rates are up. It's always better to earn an interest than pay an interest. And it's really important that you create a list of everybody that you're looking to buy a gift for, and then the amount you want to spend. And you're going to want to stick to that. Now, a couple things here. Some people make this big old list and they buy gifts throughout the year and they forget about the list. And they said, I need something for Julie because I got something that seems a little bit nicer or bigger in the box for Jimmy. No, just stick with it. Just focus on getting what you're getting and stick within your budget. Secondly, if you're seeing some of those items that you're going, oh my God, they got this big old TV, take a day to think about it. Make sure it's what's in there for you. A lot of companies are going to make it easy for you to buy because they're going to do it on payments. You got to remember you're spending more if you're doing it on payments because you're paying interest. Okay. And one of the things that you can do is if you're looking for something, you could put it into your birthday items or your shopping list and then go to a website called camel.com. List that item and camel.com will come back to you and say, hey, it's on sale. So the one day your items that was $100 is now $50 or $60, you just got 40% off and you're able to save some money towards your budget. Okay. So the big thing about the holiday season is don't feel guilty. There's nothing wrong with also making some sort of a gift for somebody. Okay. We did this for our family. We talked to my mom. We got all those recipes that she had, a little family history. We put it in a nice book. The grandkids, my siblings, they saw it was the best gift they ever received. And you know what? Besides the toys people don't keep forever, but something like that they do because they want to remember mom. And we keep talking about how great that gift was. The other thing that's most important is set aside. You start set aside money now. If you haven't, you won't have to put it on a credit card. Okay. So that's my quick tip for today. I want to thank you for joining us right here on Saving with Steve. We're going to look forward to seeing you next week. You have a wonderful week. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
More expert advice for having a happier relationship with money still to come on the Saving with Steve show on UK Health Radio.